Listen closely, old man. The wedding was nice, but the honeymoon is short. She whispered it right into my ear during our dance. My new daughter-in-law. Her voice wasn't sweet anymore. It was pure venom. She demanded $1 million house. Cash. By tomorrow. If I refused, she promised to destroy my son at his own wedding. She thought I was just a broken-down firefighter with a pension. She thought she held all the cards. She was about to learn that you don't corner a man who spent 30 years running into burning buildings. Sometimes you have to set a fire to save what you love. If you're listening to this, subscribe and let me know where you're watching from. It helps to know I'm not alone in this crazy world. My name is James, and this is the story of how I burned down my son's wedding to save his life. The ballroom looked like a fairy tale. Crystal lights shimmered everywhere. A string quartet played softly in the corner. It smelled like expensive roses and champagne. It was extravagant, ridiculously extravagant. This single night cost more than I made in 3 years, but it was for Daniel, my son, my boy. I'd do anything for him. And that, it turned out, was the trap. I spent 30 years as a firefighter. That job teaches you about foundations. What holds up under pressure, what collapses when the heat gets too intense. I retired with a bad knee and a decent pension. I thought I'd built a good life, a safe life. I thought I knew pressure. I was wrong. The real heat was just beginning. My wife, Helen, passed away 3 years ago. The world went silent. It was just me, Daniel, and our daughter, Laura. We clung to each in the darkness. Helen was the smart one, the careful one. She insisted we save every penny. For your care, James, she'd said, her eyes serious. Just in case, she worried about me being alone. I wish she were here now. She would have seen the smoke long before the fire. This wedding had nearly wiped out that nest egg. Helen's legacy. Every check I wrote felt like a small piece of my security crumbling away. The venue, the imported flowers, the 5-course meal. I wrote them all. I told myself it was worth it, a once-in-a-lifetime event. I didn't realize it was just the down payment on a lifetime of misery. I watched Daniel across the room. He looked sharp in his tuxedo. Happy, happier than I'd seen him since Helen got sick. He's a good man. Kind, maybe a little too trusting. He always sees the best in people. He got that from his mother. He was laughing as his new bride, Emily, whispered something in his ear. He looked completely captivated, blinded by the light. Emily, she was breathtaking, radiant. Her dress probably cost more than my first house. She swept Daniel off his feet. A whirlwind romance. 10 months from meeting to marriage. It felt fast. Too fast. Daniel was lonely. Desperate to fill the void. Helen left. Emily seemed perfect. Too perfect. I wanted him to be happy. So, I ignored the warning signs. The small red flags that were waving right in front of my face. She looks like a princess. Dad, I turned. Laura stood beside me holding a glass of champagne. She looked stunning, so much like her mother, but her eyes were different. Sharp, not soft like Helen's. Laura is a lawyer. She sees the world in terms of evidence and motive, and she did not like the evidence she was seeing. She does, I agreed. I tried to sound light. I felt heavy. The knot in my stomach tightened. A very expensive princess, Laura muttered. She took a sip of champagne. She tapped her fingernail against the glass. Tap, tap, a nervous habit she had when she was stressed. Did you know she insisted on this specific vintage? It's $400 a bottle. I flinched. $400 for fizzy grape juice and the centerpieces. Laura continued, her voice low, flown in from Holland. Yesterday, because the local roses weren't vibrant enough. It's her wedding day. Laura, I sighed. Let's just focus on Daniel. Look how happy he is. I was trying to convince myself, as much as her. But the numbers didn't lie, and the numbers were screaming at me. I am looking at him, Dad. Her gaze fixed on Emily across the room. And I hope that happiness isn't least. Least. The word hung in the air between us, cold and sharp. There's something about her, Laura said. It's too polished, too perfect. Nobody is that perfect. I knew Laura had doubts. She thought Emily was opportunistic, a gold digger. I dismissed them, sisterly skepticism. I told myself. Maybe I didn't want to see it. Maybe I was too desperate for Daniel to do okay. But watching Emily move through the room, the knot in my stomach twisted tighter. She moved like a queen surveying her court. But there was a hardness around her eyes when she thought no one was looking. A coldness. I saw her pause by the gift table. She ran a hand over a silver platter. She wasn't admiring it. She was assessing it, calculating its cost. She wasn't just enjoying the party. She was taking inventory. And I had a sinking feeling I was on the balance sheet. Earlier, I met her father, Mr. Harrison, a big man with a loud voice and expensive shoes that looked brand new. He smelled like strong cologne and old cigars. Clapped me on the back too hard. It hurt. "James, wonderful party," he boomed. "My Emily deserves the best. Good thing Daniel found a family that can provide it." He winked. I felt a chill. Provide it. Not share it. Provide it. Like I was a bank account, not a father. I noticed Mr. Harrison kept looking at his watch, fidgeting. He seemed nervous, like he was waiting for something or someone. It felt off. It felt wrong. Then I saw it, near the service entrance. Mr. Harrison was talking to a man I didn't recognize, a man in a sharp, dark suit who looked completely out of place at the wedding. He looked dangerous. The man handed Mr. Harrison an envelope, thick with cash. Mr. Harrison quickly pocketed it, looking around nervously before disappearing back into the crowd. Who was that man, and why was he paying Emily's father at the wedding? The questions burned in my mind. It felt like accelerant poured on a dying fire. Something was about to explode, but I couldn't investigate. Not now. I had a role to play. The happy father of the groom. The music slowed. The band leader, a slick guy in a shiny suit, stepped up to the microphone. "Ladies and gentlemen, it is time for a very special dance. The father of the groom and the beautiful bride." Applause echoed. My turn. I smoothed the lapel of my rented tuxedo. It felt stiff, unnatural. My bad knee throbbed, a sign of stress. I pinned a smile on my face and walked onto the polished dance floor. It felt like walking the plank. Emily met me halfway. Her smile was bright, dazzling, too bright. She took my hands. Her grip was surprisingly strong. The music started, a slow, sentimental melody. It was one of Helen's favorites. My throat tightened. I missed her so much in that moment. If Helen were here, what would she tell me to do? We began to sway, up close. She was flawless. Perfect makeup. Expensive perfume. It smelled like jasmine, and something else underneath. Something sharp, metallic, like cold coins. "Thank you for everything, James," she said. Her voice was like spun sugar, sweet, sticky. "This day is absolutely perfect. A dream come true." "You're welcome, Emily," I replied. I meant it. I'm just happy that Daniel is happy. Welcome to the family. We danced in silence for a few moments. The lights were low, the mood romantic. I started to relax. Maybe Laura was wrong. Maybe the envelope was nothing. Maybe I was just an anxious old man, haunted by the dwindling numbers in my bank account. Maybe this was real. Maybe I was just paranoid. Then everything changed. Emily leaned in close. Her lips brushed my ear. I thought she was going to say something sweet. Maybe call me Dad for the first time. I braced myself for the warmth of acceptance. Instead, I got a cold blade pressed against my throat. She leaned in, her perfume suddenly overwhelming. Her grip tightened on my hand, pulling me slightly off balance. The music seemed to fade into the background. "Listen closely, old man," she hissed. The sugar vanished from her voice, replaced by pure venom. A wedding was nice, but the honeymoon is short. The shift was jarring, like stepping on black ice. My feet faltered. I stared at her, confused, terrified, but I kept smiling for the guests. Cameras were flashing, a picture-perfect moment masking a brutal transaction. She continued, her voice a low growl. Her nails dug into my skin. "Daniel's condo is pathetic. I won't live there. I am a woman of taste." Pathetic? Daniel loved that place. He bought it himself. He was so proud of it. There's a house in the West Hills, she whispered. The big one, with the gates and the pool. The one we looked at last week. I knew the house. It was a mansion. You were going to buy it for us, she said. Cash. I almost stopped dancing. The West Hills. The house she was describing cost over $1 million. Maybe 1.2 million. It was impossible. I barely had enough left to cover my own expenses. My security, Helen's legacy, already stretched thin. This would break me. Emily, I don't understand, I stammered. My voice caught in my throat. I felt the blood draining from my face. I tried to keep my face neutral. People were watching. No, you understand perfectly, she whispered fiercely. Her breath was hot against my ear. Her smile never wavered for the crowd, but her eyes, locked on mine, were dead, cold and dead. You buy us that house, or I'm leaving him, she said. Leaving him? They had been married for 3 hours. Tonight, she added, twisting the knife, I will walk out of this reception, and I will make sure everyone knows why. My blood ran cold. The dread pooled in my stomach. A cold, heavy blanket. Why? I asked, my voice barely a whisper. I didn't want to know the answer, but I had to ask. She smiled, a cruel twist of her lips, still hidden from the crowd. I will tell everyone that Daniel couldn't perform, she said, the words clipped precise. That he's a failure as a husband already. She paused for effect. That he's impotent. The breath left my body. The room spun violently. The music distorted. The beautiful melody turned sinister. Impotent. Daniel. It was a lie. A cruel, vicious lie. He will be humiliated. She gloated. He will be crushed. And it will be your fault. She knew exactly where to strike. She knew that my son's happiness, his dignity, was my greatest weakness. She knew how much Daniel struggled with his confidence. He was sensitive. A lie like that, so cruel, so public, would destroy him. Utterly. This wasn't a request. It was blackmail. Emotional terrorism. I looked at this young woman, this monster in a white dress, demanding my life's work, my future, as a ransom for my son's happiness. I was cornered, trapped. The fire was closing in, and I couldn't find the exit. I couldn't speak. I couldn't cause a scene. I was paralyzed, so I did the only thing I could do. I nodded, silently, defeated. Emily's smile widened, genuinely this time, a predator who had just cornered its prey. She patted my shoulder, patronizingly. Good man, she purred. I knew you'd see reason. We'll expect the confirmation tomorrow. Noon. Tomorrow. Noon. The deadline was set. The clock was ticking. The song ended. She curtsied gracefully. The crowd applauded. They applauded my surrender. I walked off the floor. My legs felt like lead. My bad knee throbbed in time with the pounding in my head. I felt sick. I felt old. I saw Daniel watching me, smiling. He had no idea he was married to a snake. I needed air. I needed to think. I stumbled toward the terrace doors, pushing through the crowd. The congratulations felt like insults. The laughter felt like mockery. The whole celebration felt like a grotesque farce. I felt like I was suffocating. I burst out onto the terrace. The cool night air hit my face. It didn't clear the fog in my brain. I leaned against the stone railing, struggling to breathe. The city lights blurred below. 30 years of saving lives. And I couldn't even save my own. $1 million. Gone. Everything Helen and I had worked for. Brick by brick, sacrifice by sacrifice. Gone, replaced by a debt to a woman who viewed love as a transaction, and my son as a pawn. I had been played, and I lost everything. I thought about the envelope of cash I saw earlier. The nervous father. It was all starting to make a terrifying kind of sense. Dad? Dad? Are you okay? Laura was suddenly beside me, her hand on my arm, her face etched with concern. You look like you're about to collapse. What happened out there? What did that woman say to you? Her eyes searched mine. She knew. She always knew. I couldn't hide it from her. Not Laura. She was too sharp. She wants a house, I whispered. The words tasted like ash. A house? Laura looked confused. What do you mean? A down payment? Dad, you already gave them a huge gift? No, I choked out, shaking my head, the weight of it crushing me. She wants me to buy them a house in the West Hills, the big one. The mansion on Oakmont Drive? Laura asked, her eyes wide. I nodded. The $1 million one. Laura stared at me. Disbelief turned to anger. $1 million? Dad, that's insane. You don't have that kind of money. Not after this wedding. I know, I whispered. You'd have to sell everything, she said, her voice rising. Your house, the stocks. You'd have nothing left. You'd be broke. So you told her no, right? Ralph pleaded. Dad, tell me you told her no. I looked down at my hands. Hands that had pulled people from burning buildings. Hands that had held Helen's as she faded. Hands that now felt weak, useless. I couldn't, I whispered. Shame washed over me. What do you mean, you couldn't? Laura grabbed my arm, shaking me slightly. Why not? Why would you agree to that? I told her. The threat, the ultimatum, the specific, cruel lie Emily planned to use against Daniel, the impotence accusation, the humiliation. Laura's face turned to pale, then flushed with a cold, hard fury I had rarely seen. That manipulative, venomous snake, she hissed. Her voice trembled with rage. At the wedding? She blackmailed you at the wedding? The sheer audacity. She paced the terrace, her heels clicking on the stone. This is extortion, Dad. This is illegal. What do I do, Laura? I pleaded. I felt utterly helpless, a feeling I hated. If I refuse, she'll destroy him. You know how sensitive he is. He won't survive the humiliation. He loves her so much. I was spiraling. I couldn't see a way out. He loves the illusion she created, Dad. Not her, Laura shot back. Her lawyer brain kicked in. She stopped pacing and looked me straight in the eye. And if you give in, you'll destroy yourself. You'll lose everything. Everything Mom wanted for you. She grabbed my shoulders, forced me to look at her. This isn't about the house. Dad, this is about control, she said, her voice intense. If you give in now, it will never end. She will bleed you dry, and then she will discard Daniel when you have nothing left to give. I knew she was right. Every instinct screamed that this was a trap, a fire I couldn't control, but the fear of seeing my son broken paralyzed me. The stakes were too high. I was trapped between a rock and a hard place, and the walls were closing in. Just then, the terrace doors opened. Daniel appeared, his face flushed with excitement. Happy, oblivious. Dad! Laura! There you are, he beamed. Come on, they're cutting the cake. It's that 7-layer thing Emily wanted. He looked so innocent, so vulnerable. I forced a smile. The effort was physically painful. We'll be right there, son. He paused. He looked at me closely. His brow furrowed slightly. Are you okay, Dad? You seem a little off. You look pale. Just overwhelmed, I lied. The words felt heavy on my tongue, overwhelmed by the joy of it all. Daniel accepted it. He always accepted things at face value. It's amazing, isn't it? He said, glowing again. Emily is so happy. He leaned in slightly, like he was sharing a wonderful secret. She was just telling me about the house in the West Hills, the one on Oakmont. My blood ran cold. She said, you were excited about helping us get it. He continued, as a surprise wedding gift. Dad, that's incredible. Thank you. The manipulation had already begun. She was already weaving the narrative, making me sound like the generous father, while holding a gun to my head in private. She was good, terrifyingly good. Go ahead, Daniel, Laura said. Her voice was tight, strained. We're right behind you. Daniel nodded and disappeared back into the ballroom. The silence on the terrace was heavy. The music from the ballroom mocked us, a cheerful melody for a grotesque farce. He has no idea, I whispered. The realization hit me like a physical blow. She's already poisoned him. We have to tell him, Laura said firmly. We have to tell him the truth. Now, before this goes any further. He won't believe me, I said, shaking my head. Despair washed over me again. He's completely blinded by her. He'll think I'm jealous, or cheap, or trying to sabotage his marriage. I knew how it would play out. She'll cry. She'll twist the story. She'll say, I misunderstood. And I will lose him, Laura. I will lose my son. I couldn't lose him. Not after losing Helen. And we need proof, Laura said. Her eyes narrowed. The lawyer taking over. We need something undeniable. Something that exposes her true colors. Evidence? How? I asked, frustration mounting. How do I get proof of a whisper on a dance floor? It's her word against mine. We stood in silence. Defeated. I felt like I was watching my life burn down around me, and I was the one holding the match. Laura paced the terrace. Okay, let's think. Her father. The envelope, that has to be connected. It felt dirty, I said. Like a drug deal. Just then, a woman stumbled out onto the terrace. It was Emily's maid of honor, Sarah. She looked drunk and miserable. She was crying, mascara running down her face. She clutched a champagne bottle like a lifeline. Sarah, Laura approached her cautiously. Are you okay? Sarah looked up, startled. No, I'm not okay. She hiccuped. This whole thing is a sham. A mistake. What do you mean? I asked, my heart pounding. Was this the break we needed? Sarah looked around nervously. Her eyes darted toward the ballroom doors. I can't talk here. Emily will kill me. She grabbed Laura's arm. Her grip was desperate. She's not who you think she is. She's dangerous. You have to stop this. Dangerous how? Laura pressed gently. She's done this before, Sarah whispered, the words tumbling out in a rush. She marries men with money, or men whose families have money. My blood ran cold, a serial predator. She bleeds them dry, Sarah continued, tears streaming down her face. And then disappears, changes her name, moves to a new city. Daniel is her fifth target. Fifth. The word hit me like a punch to the gut. We need proof, Sarah, I said, my voice urgent. She's blackmailing me, right now, threatening Daniel. Sarah's eyes widened in fear. She threatened him? Already? Usually she waits a few months. She shook her head violently. I can't help you. I can't. Why not? Laura asked.
Sarah, Daniel is a good man. He doesn't deserve this. You don't understand, Sarah cried. If she finds out I talked to you, she'll destroy me. She has dirt on me. Things I did in college. Things that would ruin my career. My life. She was terrified. Emily had leverage on everyone.
She isolated her victims, controlled the narrative. Sarah pulled away and ran back inside, leaving us alone again. But now we knew the truth. Emily wasn't just a gold digger. She was a professional con artist. And my son was her latest victim. We had the motive. Now we just needed the proof. I thought about my years as a firefighter. Investigations after a fire. We always looked for the source, the point of origin, the undeniable truth hidden beneath the ashes. I had to expose the arsonist threatening to burn down my family. I needed a confession from Emily herself. If this story has you on the edge of your seat, please hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe. It helps our channel grow and bring more stories like this to light. Because sometimes the truth is darker than fiction, and the fight for justice is just beginning. My eyes scanned the ballroom from the terrace. I saw the videographer, a young guy named Harrison. I remembered from the introductions. He had a complex rig of cameras and sound equipment. Moving around the room, documenting every moment of this sham. Documenting, recording. Then I saw it, clipped to the DJ's booth near the stage. A charging station, several small, black boxes. Wireless microphone transmitters. Lavaliers, the kind they clip on the groom during the ceremony. To take clear audio, the kind that pick up everything. An idea began to form. A plan. A twist. A change in direction. It was risky. It was desperate. But it was the only way. The helplessness was receding, replaced by a cold, calculated resolve. The old firefighter instincts kicking in. Assess the situation. Formulate a plan. Execute. I had to fight fire with fire. I have a plan, I said to Laura, my voice regaining some of its strength. I'm going to get a confession, but you have to keep Daniel busy. Don't let him near Emily. And keep an eye on Sarah. Make sure she doesn't warn Emily. What are you going to do? Laura asked, her eyes wide with apprehension. "I'm going to set a trap," I said. I walked back into the ballroom, my resolve hardening with every step. I wasn't a victim, I was a father, and I was about to protect my son. I was going to take control of this fight. I approached the videographer, Harrison. He was filming the cake cutting. Daniel and Emily, smiling, holding the silver knife together. It made me sick. "Excuse me," I said. I kept my voice casual, friendly. He turned, lowering his camera. "Yes, sir? Mr. Mill, I'm giving the big speech in a few minutes," I said. I patted my chest. "The acoustics in here are a bit echoey. I was wondering if I could borrow one of your wireless microphones, just to make sure everyone can hear me clearly." He looked confused. He glanced toward the stage. "The DJ mic has a handheld microphone at the podium, sir. It's very good, top of the line." "I know, but I tend to move around when I talk," I improvised. I tried to look nervous. I'm a bit unsteady on my feet. The old knee injury. I'd feel much more comfortable with a clip-on. Less chance of dropping it. I needed him to believe I was just a nervous old man. He hesitated, protective of his equipment. This was a hurdle I had to clear. "I don't usually loan these out," he said, frowning slightly. "They're expensive, and I need to monitor the audio levels for the final video. I needed that microphone. I couldn't let this fail." "I understand," I said. I pulled out my wallet. I handed him my driver's license and a credit card. "Keep these as collateral. I'll bring it right back after the speech." "Please, it would mean the world to me, to Daniel." He looked at the cards, then at my face. Maybe he saw the desperation hiding behind my smile. He sighed. "Okay, fine," Harrison relented. "But please be careful. This is a $5,000 rig." He went to the charging station. He grabbed one of the transmitters and the accompanying microphone on a thin wire. He showed me how to turn it on. A small green light glowed. "It's active now," he warned. "This raised the stakes. It will pick up everything within a 20-foot radius." He looked me in the eye. "And it's being recorded back at the station. Standard procedure for speeches. We record everything, just in case. Recorded. Perfect." That was the key. The undeniable proof. "Thank you, Harrison," I said. My heart pounded against my ribs. A drumbeat of war. I clipped the microphone onto my lapel. I tucked the wire inside my jacket. The transmitter went into my pocket. The green light felt like a burning coal against my chest. I was wired. I was ready. Now for the hard part. The bait. The trap. I scanned the room. Laura had intercepted Daniel. She was pulling him toward the bar, engaging him in animated conversation. "Good girl." Emily was sitting alone at the head table, sipping champagne, looking bored, triumphant. The queen on her throne. She thought she had won. I approached her, my face carefully neutral, to say I'm sure I'll play this perfectly. I had to seem defeated, broken, the terrified old man she believed me to be, the weakling she had crushed on the dance floor, the performance of a lifetime. "Emily," I said softly. I sat down next to her. I carefully angled my body. The microphone on my lapel pointed directly toward her. She looked up, saw me. A smug look crossed her face. She didn't even try to hide it. "James," she purred, "come to discuss the details of our arrangement." She didn't even bother to whisper now. She thought I was powerless. "Yes," I said, my voice low, trembling slightly, playing the part. "I need to understand exactly what you need to make sure the transfer goes smoothly tomorrow. I don't want any mistakes." She leaned back in her chair, her eyes gleaming with victory. Her arrogance was her weakness. "It's very simple, James," she said. Her voice was low, but clear, dripping with condescension. The microphone was perfectly placed. "I want the house at 1250 West Hills Drive," she said, savoring the address. "It's listed at $1.2 million. The one on Oakmont. 1.2, I repeated, feigning shock. The actual price was higher than she initially said. The greed was escalating. I needed the numbers recorded, clear and loud. "Yes," she confirmed. "I expect the full amount transferred to my personal account by noon tomorrow. Not Daniel's account. Mine." That's everything I have, I whispered, sounding broken. My retirement savings. The money Helen left for my care. My wife. I was feeding her the lines. And she was taking the bait. She shrugged. Indifferent. Cruel. You'll manage. Maybe Daniel can get a second job. He's lazy anyway. Or maybe you can sell your house. Move into a cheap apartment. She waved a dismissive hand. That's not my problem. My problem is securing the lifestyle I deserve. The lifestyle she deserved. The lifestyle she deserved. The entitlement was staggering. And if I refuse? I asked. I needed the threat repeated. Clear, undeniable. For the recording, for Daniel. She laughed. A cruel, sharp sound that chilled me to the bone. I told you what would happen, she said. I walk tonight, right now, and I will make sure Daniel hates you for the rest of his life, she threatened, enjoying the power she held over me. I will tell him you refused to help us, that you abandoned him when he needed you most, that you're a selfish, cheap old man. She paused for effect. He will believe me. He always believes me. She was right. He would believe her. Unless I had proof. She leaned closer. The jasmine perfume overwhelming. The metallic scent underneath stronger now. And the humiliation, James, she continued, her voice hardening. Don't forget the humiliation. The story about his inadequacy. She smiled, enjoying my discomfort. The impotence, it will spread like wildfire. His friends, his colleagues, everyone will know. It will destroy him. Every word was a knife, but every word was also a nail in her coffin. The microphone nestled against my chest picked it all up. The greed, the manipulation, the confession. I had her. You don't love him at all, do you? I whispered. A genuine question this time. I needed to understand the depth of her cruelty. I needed the recording to capture the heart of the betrayal. She smiled. A cold, predatory smile. Love? She scoffed. Don't be naive, old man. Love doesn't pay the bills. Love doesn't get you a house in the West Hills. I married Daniel for security, she confessed, openly now. And you, James, are my insurance policy. Now we have a deal. Don't screw it up. Noon tomorrow. I have debts to pay. Debts to pay. I thought about her father and the envelope. It was all connected. She dismissed me. Now go away. It's time for the speeches, and I need to look happy. I stood up. My legs were steady now. The fear was gone, replaced by a cold, calm certainty. I had the evidence. I had the truth. The fire was contained. Now it was time to let it burn. I was about to burn her world down. I walked toward the small stage. The best man was just finishing his toast. A rambling, drunken speech. The guests chuckled politely. They had no idea what was coming. I made eye contact with Harrison, the videographer. He looked nervous. He glanced at the microphone on my lapel. He knew something was wrong. I gave him a small, reassuring nod. It was time. I walked over to the DJ booth. Mike, the DJ, was busy queuing up the next song. Excuse me, I said. My voice was firm, authoritative. He looked up, startled. Yes, sir? When I start speaking, I need you to coordinate with the videographer, I instructed. He has an audio feed I need you to patch into your main speakers. The main house sound system. Mike looked confused. Sir, the handheld microphone is ready for you at the podium. I don't understand. What audio feed? It's a surprise for my son. I lied. A recording? Please, do it when I signal you. It's very important. The DJ, sensing the tension in my voice, the seriousness in my eyes, hesitated, then nodded slowly. Okay, man, whatever you say. The pieces were in place. The trap was set. I walked to the center of the stage. I took the handheld microphone. The rain quieted down. The guests turned to look at me, expecting the usual sentimental cliches. The fatherly advice, the proud father, the happy tears. The lights were bright. The silence was heavy. Daniel and Emily were sitting at the head table, holding hands. Emily looked smug, already counting the money she thought she had secured. Laura was watching me from the side, her hands clasped tightly together, her face pale with anticipation. She was the only one who knew the storm was about to hit. I took a deep breath. This was it. Point of no return. Good evening, everyone, I began. My voice echoed slightly through the speakers. Thank you all for coming to celebrate this beautiful day with my son Daniel and his new wife, Emily. I paused. I looked at Daniel. My heart ached, this love for him, and with sadness for the pain I was about to cause. But sometimes you have to break a bone, so it heals, right? Daniel, I said, my voice thick with emotion. I remember the day you were born. Your mother, Helen, held you in her arms. She whispered that you were her miracle. Tears welled up in my eyes. This part was real. You have grown into a kind, compassionate, and strong man, I continued. I am so proud of you. Helen would have been so proud too. Daniel smiled, touched. Tears welled up in his eyes. The room was warm with sentiment. They were hooked. They were eating it up. The calm before the storm. Marriage is a sacred bond, I said, my tone shifting slightly. It's a partnership. Promise. Helen and I built our life on a foundation of love, respect, and, most importantly, honesty. I turned my gaze to Emily. Her smile faltered. Just slightly. A flicker of uncertainty in her eyes. The color started to drain from her face. She sensed the shift in tone. She knew something was wrong, but she didn't know how wrong. But a foundation built on lies will eventually crumble, I said. My voice hardened. The firefighter's voice. The voice that commanded attention in a crisis. And a life built on threats and extortion is not a life at all. The room went completely still. A nervous tension spread through the guests. Whispers started. Daniel looked confused. He glanced between me and Emily. He squeezed her hand, trying to reassure her. Or maybe himself. Dad, what are you talking about? When we look at a wedding, we see the beauty, I said, addressing the crowd. The flowers, the cake. We don't always see the truth hiding beneath the surface. I took another deep breath. I thought I was here to celebrate a union, I said, my voice rising. I didn't realize I was here to negotiate a ransom. A collective gasp swept through the room. Emily's eyes widened in horror. She realized what was happening. She started to stand up. Sit down, I commanded, my voice booming through the speakers. The authority of a man who had faced down infernos resonated in my tone. She froze, stunned, then slowly sat back down, trapped. You see, I said to the stunned audience, I made a promise to my son to support his new life. But I also made a promise to my late wife, to protect him from those who would take advantage of his kindness. From predators. I looked directly at Emily. Her face was a mask of terror. During our dance tonight, Emily gave me an ultimatum, I announced. Buy them $1 million house. By tomorrow. Or she leaves him. Tonight. The guests were silent, shocked. She threatened to humiliate him, I continued. To destroy him, if I refused. He's lying, Emily shrieked. She jumped to her feet, her voice high, hysterical. He's a jealous, bitter old man. He never approved of me. He hates me. She turned to Daniel, tears streaming down her face. Fake tears. Daniel, baby, don't listen to him. He's trying to ruin our wedding. She was scrambling, desperate. Daniel stared at me, horrified, paralyzed by the conflict, torn between his father and his wife. He didn't know who to believe. I wish I was lying, Daniel, I said calmly into the microphone. I truly wish I was. I turned back to the crowd. Just a few minutes ago, I had another conversation with Emily. A conversation where she detailed her demands, her threats. A conversation she thought was private. I looked at the DJ, Mike, and the videographer, Harrison. Harrison's hands were shaking. I gave the signal, a sharp nod. But we weren't alone, I said. Mr. Harrison, I believe you recorded that conversation, didn't you? Harrison nodded slowly, his face grim. Play it, I commanded. Mike the DJ pressed a button. For a moment there was only silence. The hiss of the speakers. The tension in the room was unbearable. And then Emily's voice filled the room, amplified. Cold, clear, dripping with venom. It's very simple, James. I want the house at 1250 West Hills Drive. It's listed at $1.2 million. The guests gasped. Whispers erupted, shocked faces everywhere. Emily's father, Mr. Harrison, turned bright red. I saw the man in the dark suit near the back slip out the exit door. My voice followed on the recording, sounding weak, hesitant, just as I had planned. That's everything I have, my retirement savings. The money Helen left from my care, my wife, and then the indifference, the cruelty. You'll manage. Maybe Daniel can get a second job. He's lazy anyway. That's not my problem. My problem is securing the lifestyle I deserve. The recording continued, relentless, exposing the threats, the blackmail, and the humiliation, James. Don't forget the humiliation. The story about his inadequacy, the impotence. It will spread like wildfire. It will destroy him. Daniel flinched as if he had been slapped. He looked at Emily, a look of pure betrayal, his eyes wide with disbelief and pain, and finally the damning confession, the final nail. Love, don't be naive, old man. Love doesn't pay the bills. I married Daniel for security, and you, James, are my insurance policy. I have debts to pay. The recording ended. The silence that followed was deafening. Every eye in the room was on Emily. Her face was shattered. Her carefully constructed facade crumbled into a million pieces. She wasn't laughing anymore. She was exposed. The arsonist caught in the act. Daniel stared at her, his face completely drained of color. The adoration, the love, the hope, all gone, replaced by a profound, agonizing betrayal. He finally saw her. The real her. Emily, he whispered, his voice trembling, barely audible. Is that true? He looked so young, so broken. Emily sputtered, trying to find words. Her eyes darted around the room like a trapped animal, looking for an escape route. There was none. Daniel, baby, no, she cried. He set me up. He twisted my words. This is a trick. This is audio manipulation. He edited the recording. She turned to me, her eyes blazing with fury. You manipulative old man. You will pay for this. I will sue you for defamation. I didn't put those words in your mouth, Emily, I said calmly into the microphone, my voice steady, strong. You did. You saw my love for my son as a weakness to be exploited. You saw marriage not as a partnership, but as a payday. Daniel stood up slowly, his legs shaking. He looked at the woman he had just promised his life to. The silence stretched, heavy, suffocating. You were gonna leave me? He asked, his voice cracking. Tonight? On our wedding night? He looked down at his hands, and the things you said, the threats, the impotence, the humiliation was real, but it wasn't his. It was hers. I did it for us, Daniel, she cried, trying to salvage the situation. The crocodile tears flowed freely now. I wanted us to have a future, a beautiful future. Your father was being selfish. He was hoarding the money. He was trying to control us. She was still trying to manipulate him, even now. He was being blackmailed. Laura shouted from the side of the room. She marched up to the head table, stood protectively beside her brother, her eyes blazing. By you, you disgusting gold digger. Laura spat, her voice filled with contempt. Sarah, the maid of honor, suddenly found her courage. She stood up, her face tear-stained but resolute. It's true, she shouted. She's done it before. Daniel was her fifth victim. She's a con artist. Emily stared at Sarah, shocked by the betrayal. The room erupted into chaos. Emily's family rushed to her side, shouting accusations, defending the indefensible. How dare you? Emily's mother screamed at me. You planned this, Mr. Harrison yelled, pointing a finger at me, his face purple with rage. But I only saw Daniel. He walked slowly toward Emily. He stopped in front of her. He looked at the ring on his finger, the symbol of the promise he had made just hours ago, the symbol of his love, the symbol of the lie he had believed. With a deliberate, agonizing movement, he pulled the wedding ring off his finger. He held it out to her. I believed you, he said. His voice filled with a heartbreak so deep it silenced the room again. Everyone stopped shouting, watching the drama unfold. I loved you, he whispered. I gave you everything, and you never loved me. He dropped the ring onto the table. It landed with a small, metallic clink. It felt louder than any explosion. "We're done," he said. The words were final. Absolute. Emily let out a shriek of rage. Frustration. Defeat. She lost it. The mask fell completely. She grabbed a glass of champagne from the table. She threw it at me. It missed, shattering against the wall behind the stage. The $400 champagne wasted. Just like the wedding. "I will destroy you," she screamed, her voice hysterical. "I will sue you for everything you have. You haven't won. Slander. You have nothing," Daniel said. His voice cold, steady, stronger now. He had found his strength. "You have no claim on me. No claim on my family." He pointed toward the exit. "Get out. Now, before I have security remove you." Emily looked around the room, seeing the disgust and pity in everyone's eyes. Her power was gone. Her leverage evaporated. Her facade crumbled completely. With a final scream of frustration, she grabbed her purse. She stormed out of the ballroom. Her family trailed behind her. In shame, humiliation. The wedding was over. I walked down from the stage. I felt drained, exhausted, but lighter than I had felt all night. The weight was gone. The fire was out. I returned the microphone to Harrison. He just stared at me, speechless. I nodded my thanks. I found Daniel standing in the middle of the dance floor, alone, staring at the spot where he had danced with Emily just hours ago, where the nightmare began. He was shaking, his face pale, his eyes filled with a profound sadness. A loss so deep I could feel it radiating from him, the wreckage of his dreams scattered around him. I walked up to him. I put my arm around his shoulder. He leaned into me. He buried his face in my shoulder, and he began to weep, deep, wrenching sobs that shook his whole body. The sound of a broken heart. The pain was immense, but it was honest pain, clean pain. I held my son, my heart breaking for him, but also swelling with pride. He had faced the truth. He had chosen dignity over delusion. He was strong, stronger than he knew. Laura joined us. She wrapped her arms around both of us. We stood there, a family, broken but not destroyed. Amidst the wreckage of the celebration, the foundation held. The weeks that followed were difficult. The silence in the house was heavy. The annulment process was surprisingly quick. Laura handled everything. The recording of Emily's confession, which Harrison gladly provided, destroyed any claim she tried to make. Extortion is a crime. Blackmail is a crime. She had no defense. We found out later about the envelope of cash. Laura dug deep. It turned out Mr. Harrison was deeply in debt to the man in the dark suit, a loan shark named Mr. Black. Emily's marriage to Daniel was supposed to pay off that debt. They were all in on it. The whole family was a scam. They disappeared from our lives, leaving behind only the scars of their betrayal. Daniel was devastated. He moved back in with me for a while. He couldn't stand the condo. He mourned the loss of the future he thought he had, the woman he thought he loved. There were moments of anger, moments of deep sadness, but slowly, agonizingly slowly, he began to heal. We spent many evenings sitting in the living room, not talking, just being together. The comfort of family, the strength of our bond. The money I had almost lost was still safe in the bank. Helen's legacy, but I no longer cared about the numbers. I cared about the peace in my home, the safety of my children. One evening, about 6 months later, Daniel, Laura, and I were sitting on the porch, watching the sunset. It was a beautiful evening, the sky painted in shades of orange and purple, the colors Helen used to love. "I'm sorry, Dad," Daniel said quietly, staring at the horizon. "For what, son?" I asked. "For being so blind," he said. "For putting you in that position. For not seeing what she was. For not listening to you and Laura." He turned to me, his eyes clear and steady, the shadows finally lifting, the pain replaced by wisdom. "You saved me, Dad," he said. "You saved me from a lifetime of misery, and I didn't even know I needed saving." Tears welled up in my eyes. A profound sense of relief washed over me. The burden I had carried finally lifted. "That's what fathers do, Daniel," I said. I put my hand on his shoulder. "We protect our children. Always. I looked at my children, my legacy. Laura, strong and sharp. Daniel, kind and resilient. I thought about Helen. I'd kept my promise to her. I had protected our son. The cost was high. I had to destroy my son's wedding day to save his life. It was a victory, but a sad one, a necessary one. Sometimes you have to burn something down to save the foundation. As the last rays of light faded, I realized that true wealth isn't measured in dollars or houses in the West Hills or extravagant weddings. It's measured in the strength of the bonds we share, the integrity we uphold, and the lengths we will go to protect the people we love. And in that moment, surrounded by the silence of the evening and the presence of my children, I felt like the richest man in the world. Thanks for listening. Please rate our story in the comments. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to subscribe. Your support means a lot, because your time matters.